Today, I would like to present only one product, specific product from Nafta College, which is called PetroCup. It's a typical immersive learning facility. It's a software. And it targets not to develop the geological skill or the skills of petrophysicist or the skills of simulation engineer or well test analyst. It targets to develop the holistic skill of the whole team. So the idea of PetroCup is to create simulator which will require the presence of 10 different disciplines in one room, working together for one or few days to achieve the integrated economical result of the production development. And in order to achieve that goal, I created two different teams. One team are software developers, mathematicians, which were developing the simulators of the production logging, of the well testing, of the drilling, of the workovers, of the surface facilities, of the economics, of the contractual logistics. So they tried to mimic the behavior of the real life asset in many disciplines in a software. And the second team was the team of the industry professionals. The same team we expect for the asset teams to perform. The geologist, petrophysicist, the simulation engineer, production technologist, the same team, but the team who could create the synthetic assets, and not one, but many, with different challenges. And the synthetic assets which are carefully balanced in all disciplines. So every discipline has issues in these assets and gives opportunity for every discipline to show his capability and then bring his findings to the team. So as you can see, this is a result of an extensive work of two different teams. One was trying to build a mathematical engine which reproduces the behavior of the assets, even physical behavior, economical behavior, social behavior of the asset in the most realistic way. So the people, when they start doing this, they get immersed in the very similar environment they work in the real petroleum company. And on the other hand, the other team was trying to create a library of the different assets with different challenges, so you can actually get trained through the various types of complications and geological and economical realizations. That's probably the fastest and the shortest introduction to PetroCup specifically and to the immersive learning in general. So let me proceed. As you can see from here, I hope you can see my mouse. We put a logo, a motto for our own self. We train robots and robots train people. We believe that the narrative part of the training, like conventional lectures, should be progressed into the web video environment. So there are a lot of disputes on this. I believe that the best lectures I had in my life, they've been videotaped, and now people can get access to the best I can do as a lecturer. And whenever I have a chance to discuss something with people in live, I prefer to do after they watch my video. That's my kind of a motto. And basically, if you go and visit Nafta College website and then proceed into the libraries and to the videos, you're going to see a lot of the videos where the people, me and my colleagues, explain things. There is a lot of narration available in those videos. But when people start disputing what is more important, the live communication or the video, watching the videos, I see we should not put it as a competition. We should do both, right? But we probably should shift the focus in live meetings from the narration to the discussion. So the live communication is more of a discussion. And my belief that future of the education, whether it's school education, high school education, university grade education, professional upgrade trainings, they all will migrate in few decades from now into the system where, in the procedure, where there is a narrative part of the topic, of the subject, And that can be done by watching this video like a YouTube video at whatever time is available and most suitable for you, your own self. And then definitely we have to arrange the live sessions with the same lecturers or same professors, so we can actually go through the Q&A session, disputes, discussions, but we will gonna put more focus into the discussions and the disputes, fair disputes, rather than spending time to do the narrative part again and again, over and over. This is my philosophy, and that's how I build NAFTA College. We don't do any live narrative training. We leave it to the other lecturers across the world. But we do supply with the engineering facilities, software facilities, the methodologies, so that lecturers across the world, whether they lecture in petroleum company or in the academic, they can use our facility and watching the videos, going through the immersive training, and obviously they can run the discussions themselves, or they can invite us for the discussions. This kind of the strategy we pursue, that's what we mean when we say that we train robots and robots train people. A little bit ambitious, because there are a lot of the people. There is a lot of requirement for people to train people, yeah. But we probably limit ourselves to these specific objectives of ourselves, and let other professors and lecturers across the world to do the live part. I think we've done enough to the strategic introduction, and let's go and see what is exactly about the PetroCup. Who probably is going to need the PetroCup training? Not who, I mean, for what purposes we need the PetroCup training. Definitely for the asset management, and not for the managers themselves, but also for the disciplines who represent the asset team. And that I'm going to talk about this later. And definitely cross-discipline training. Basically, what we see from the PetroCup sessions across the world, and there are thousands, we see that the people train themselves much more efficiently than we are. Because we are very limited in time, and we are not friends or old pals for the people in different oil companies, but they are friends together, the geologist and petrophysicist, the petrophysicist and log analyst, the log analyst and simulation engineer. They probably drink coffee every day on the same floor. They probably discuss things together on the real asset. But the intensity of discussion is really small. It's really limited by the corporate workflow. So when we place them together in the same room, they start knowing each other. After one day only, they start knowing each other much better than in the last 5 years of working together, shoulder by shoulder. That's a real cross-discipline training. And they explain to each other the things which they never knew they know. Then obviously, we need PetroCup training for the young specialists, where they after the graduating the academias, they get a good catch on the theoretical foundation of the petroleum engineering. But in order to get practical skills, they have to join the petroleum company and work in petroleum company for many years, like 10 years before they will be graded as an experienced specialist, and they will be entrusted to spend millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars on drilling, on walkovers, on surface infrastructure building, because nobody is going to entrust this decision-making to a person who is 2-3 years old. You have to go through the practical training. And how many actions in the practical training they got every year? It's a very slow process. In PetroCup world, you can go the 10 years experience in just a few days. Then obviously certification and testing. Every training facility, every experienced lecturer, professor, he knows that one of the challenges of any education is the automation, because it's really hard work for a real person to go through all tests and exams. And second challenge is biasness. It is very important that the people are evaluated without a bias. So robotized evaluation is like a dream for any educational environment. So those immersive learning things, if they run in the testing mode, they provide this automation and automate unbiased evaluation. And next one is going to be corporate championship. We run a lot of corporate championships, both in petroleum companies and the petroleum institutes. Let's say back in Russia, we have something like 20 different universities. Actually, before PetroCup, obviously I spent most of my time working here in GCC, not in Russia. But I didn't realize that Russia has 20 universities with petroleum disciplines. I knew that we have 3 petroleum institutes which specifically focused on the petroleum. But I didn't realize that we have 17 universities who have petroleum faculties who train students. And every year, Russia is producing like hundreds of the petroleum specialists, specifically geologists, petrophysicists, and we start running Olympics, all Russia Olympics, all universities together. It's public. It's actually everybody can track the performance of those universities, both in Russian and English, by the way. And that was amazing. And many universities, they start taking that training as a part of their curriculum, compulsory curriculum. But obviously, the major distribution of the PetroCup was happening through the petroleum companies. There are the whole regions who run the petroleum Olympics or championships. The companies, obviously, all the biggest companies in Russia run PetroCup as the training facility, both for young specialists and for the professionals, but different grade, different complexity of the fields and complications. And they run championships between the petroleum assets. Rosneft, Lukoil, Gazpromneft. We brought this to Southeast Asia, so the Petronas start doing this. We run the regional sessions in Kuala Lumpur under SP coverage, so that many different companies participated in this. And here in GCC, what we've done, probably the majority of jobs have been done in Oman, plus Shell has been running the regional PetroCup championship between Shell assets in MENA. Those are Shell Egypt, Shell Kuwait, Shell Oman, and a few other shells. So as you can see, this facility as a corporate championship, cross-corporate competition, testing, certification, it becomes very popular today, right? And the access to the sessions is fully automated. If you visit PetroCup.com, so you're gonna go to the session calendar and you can buy the sessions automatically. You can, just like Booking.com, you buy the voucher, you can do it online, you can book the session, you can actually move the date of the session if you are not ready to do it this day, and it's all fully automated. We don't really track who and how exactly it's going on, but obviously, if you don't want to do the financials yourself, we have managers who can help you doing this. But again, our managers who are facilitating the financial things, they still do the booking through the website. It's a fully automated facility. Let's go next. What is the target audience of this training? It's probably important, one of the most important part of that presentation. We normally talk about 10 people. First is the asset manager. That's the guy. He's the captain of the team. Probably his major designation is to gather the team properly and to encourage them talking to each other. He has to be a good psychometric guy, because the asset manager is not the guy who betters everyone in his team in disciplines. Not at all. He may not be, he may come from one of the disciplines, but he may come from the financials. But that guy is really good in order to put up the team to talk to each other, to listen to each other, because different teams have, different people have different charisma. And we've seen this in PetroCup. If the most charismatic person, the most vocal person in the team is a geologist, you can be sure that the whole team will go for the exploration and finding the reserves. But if you remember a few minutes ago, I told you that the naphtha team, when it creates the synthetic assets, it creates the synthetic assets in such a way that every discipline is having its share of the contribution. So the assets which we build have issues in all 10 different disciplines. So if you only focus on one discipline, like geologists, you can only open the 10% of the potential of that asset. If you want to crack the whole potential, you have to bring all 10 disciplines on board, and you have to make every discipline specialist to be vocal, to find the problems in his disciplines for the specific field, to deliver that message to the team, make the team listen to him, and accounted for in analysis and planning. And that will be the main incitement of the captain. The next important is the economics and procurement. The economics is rather complex, just like in real life. We take the numbers from real petroleum companies, from different petroleum environments. Obviously, they are quite different. There is an economic environment of running the business in deserts. There is a different economic environment of running the business offshore. There is an absolutely different economical environment for running the Western Siberias and Arctics. So we have different economical environments, different assets, and the economist is on the full-time duty within the team, grading the reinvestment opportunities on each and every synthetic year to make the maximum profit. Because the automated grading system put the net profit value, net present value, with the count of the discounting of the money in future as the key of the success. It's a key metric of success. So economist is very important. We've seen many teams which were performing really well in technical terms, but their investment strategy was completely wrong. And they came up with the less profit than the others. And the procurement engineer, the PetroCup world contains the contractual logistics. And if you don't do the decent work in contracting, if you just go for the biggest contractor who provides all the services, that will be probably your weak spot. Because if you watch the opportunities on the market, which are available in the synthetic world of the PetroCup, you're going to see some very interesting facilities. The contracting normally takes 1 year. So with 1 year delay, you can manage the contractuals in a better and efficient way, get a scope discount. But it will depend on how good is the technical team in their predictions on the production. So if they exaggerate the production predictions, then the contracting will be improper, the one which is been selected. But if the predictions of the technical team, of the engineering team was right, was accurate, and the procurement and economic engineer was quite competent, he's gonna fit the best construction facility for that field development plan. Next guy is a facility engineer, the one who's taking care of the surface infrastructure, production gathering stations, the booster pumps, the water supply system. He's looking for the manifolds, for the pressure maintenance. He's the guy who has to reduce the bottleneck from the production facility, but not overdo it. Because if he overdoes it, then a lot of money will be spent on the surface facility without a use, because the capacity in pressure and the flow rate has been exaggerated, and that money can be better used for the drilling and the subsurface development. So the next important person is the well and reservoir engineer, normally subsurface engineer, we call it. He will be responsible for the building the plant, for the drillings, workovers, what types of the workovers, production targets. He basically creates the field development plan in terms of the list, and then hands over this list to economists and procurement so they can grade it financially, and then asset team will accept the plan, and then you will proceed into the next synthetic year. The next important person is the production technologist. His major care is the production optimization. He's taking care of the production rates, injection rates, and that it's a lot of work. The majority of the failures which we see in the teams is the absence or insufficient capability of the production technologist who doesn't keep the proper production rates. I don't want to go into the technicalities today, but you cannot produce at the zero bottom hole pressure because you will incur a lot of the technical issues there, cement cracks, behind casing generates, all the geomechanics and the well integrity issues are fully reproduced in the PetroCup world. So you have to take care about what is the optimal production rate targets for the producers and injectors, not to avoid the hydrofracs, unwanted hydrofracs and things like that. Plus, if the current construction of the well is not good to keeping the new production targets from reservoir engineers, then production technologists can actually advise for the changing completions to install a new pump or on the surface or the downhole. A simulation engineer is another important guy. He is responsible for the current reserves and pressure distribution. He's the guy who is responsible to tell the team where are the current reserves, both in vertical profile and area. He has a 3D guide and pressure. He may not be capable within 1 or 2 days to build a 3D model like he's doing in real life. But to be honest with you, the PetroCup is not about the training a simulation engineer in the keywords of the 3D simulation software. Not at all. What we are trying to train in simulation engineer is his ability to integrate the data into his head. If he's capable to do it, then the keywords of the 3D software and everything will become just a technicality. So in PetroCup, the main idea and the main training target for the simulation engineer to understand the 3D distribution of the current reserves and pressure. And in order to do that, he has to get a very good picture of the initial distribution of the current reserves, which is responsibility of the geologist and petrophysicist. So those are two guys. First of all, the geologist should be responsible for initial reserve distribution. There are many hidden reserves in PetroCup world, and it depends on the quality and the capability of geologists to find those opportunities, to explore there. And those opportunities, they come clear from the reading the initial data materials from the data room. Some of them are not even in data room, but there are some indications and there are some tricks which geologists use to do the exploration. And it really depends on the team work, if the team will listen to geologists and follow his advices. As for petrophysicist, he is an important part of the geological work because the initial reserves which created by geologists, they depend on the lithophysical analysis and the property qualification from the petrophysicist. But also petrophysicist plays an important role during the new drillings. He constantly watch the open holes and new drillings. In PetroCup world, you receive the open hole logs. They look exactly like real open hole logs, the full set. And you have to interpret these open hole logs. Obviously, and you don't have a software because 1 or 2 days, you basically don't have access to the commercial software. So you have to interpret it just with your own eye. And you can download the last files, to be honest with you. And sometimes we run the sessions for weeks in petroleum companies for the whole week. In this case, you can actually download the last file as if it came from the field with all open hole logs, resistivity, gamma logs, just basic open hole log package. Then you can upload it into your software if you have an access to it, and then run interpretation, and then even upload it back to the engines. But in the majority of the practical sessions where we are running 1 or 2 days, you don't have time for that. But you still can pick up the units and advise on the perforation, what's the saturation, is it water, is it oil, is it gas? So he's doing important work, this petrophysicist guy. As you can see, it's one of the most important people, or at least equally important people on board through the whole session. And then we have a well test engineer. the well test engineer is responsible for the pressure rate design, the well test design, build up surveillance, and he have to interpret these logs. Again, he's getting the raw data, and he has to interpret it in the log plots. We provide the facility, software facility to interpret it along with our software, PetroCup software. But many people don't know it. So basically, you have to give a high-level interpretation of the well test data. And honestly, we have a lot of, we go for the well and log analyst. The last guy, but probably one of the most important guy, is well and log analyst. What he's doing, he's constantly interpreting the production logs. He helps to select the candidates for the production logs, to understand the flow profiles in multi-layer environment, the majority. So, and well and log analyst, he's responsible for the flow profile in producers, flow injection profile in injectors. He has to identify the candidates which he believes are not behaving well and needs to get a production logging. There are various production logging tools available in the PetroCup world. And again, he got the raw data. What we have, by the way, is some simplified versions of PetroCup. For example, for students or for the teams who don't have the professional petrophysicists, well test engineers, well log analysts available. In this case, we can run PetroCup in the mode when the interpretation of the open hole logs, well tests, and PLTs are already done automatically, and the data sent back to you already processed. So what you really need is just to integrate this data into the understanding of the reservoir. So we have some, plus we have some simplifications of the assets, simpler assets for the students, for the beginners. So that was a very important page in this presentation. So what kind of the skills we train? I probably am going to skip that kind of going through all of this, because I've already spoken of them in the previous slide. Definitely your skills in exploration, because as I told you, you don't have enough, or there are some hidden reserves, hidden reserves in this. There are a lot of mistakes in the data description, the field summary you will be reading in the beginning of the session. There are a lot of the mistakes in this data reading, so just like in real life. So you have to be capable to take it with some doubts, and go to the raw data and verify. Do you agree with the opinion of the previous team to how these things have been interpreted and analyzed? So reading the field summary is useful, but it's not like you're reading the true story. You have to understand that in PetroCup world, the story is that you normally start with the production decline, and you have to understand why is it declining. Anyway, let's go to the engineering domains. The most popular engineering domain of PetroCup is the well and reservoir management. It means that exploration has been done, the master development plan has been developed, the field is in decline, it declines faster than it's supposed to be as per the master development plan, let's say after 15 years of development, and you are a team which is challenged to read the previous data available, to go through the old raw data, understand what happened, and start developing for the next 5 years, or for the next 7 years, or for the next 10 years. Normally between 5 and 10, but the majority of the training is done over the 5 years, and the majority of the championships are running through the 7 synthetic years. 5 years we do with the one calendar day, which is a little bit tough, and many people complain, not enough time. It's like a stress, because every 2 hours you have to shoot with the drilling, walkovers, and the surveillance. And seven shots, normally 2 days, and 2 days is really good. Many companies, petroleum companies, run PetroCup over 3 days. As for the MDP, Master Development Plan, it starts from the exploration. The exploration is ready. the reserves have been booked, but you have to run 4 to 5 years the trial production, trial water flood, in order to understand the reservoir before you will put the master development plan with the building facilities, how big are the facilities you have to build, what type of the facilities you have to build, how many wells to drill, what are the completions of these wells. And as I tell you, whatever I just said, there is a very simple and friendly software when you can input this data. Learning the interface of the PetroCup is a 5 minutes job. Those videos are available on the website. And the next domain is the exploration. This is the least developed domain in PetroCup world today. And I think it's still not commercial. We do the trials, so those who will be interested in trying this out, we will be happy to share our first steps in this. But that means that you have just the basin analysis and nothing more. We start with the basin analysis, and then you are challenged to explore the field and then upload the results in the form of the 3D model back into the system. So the system will compare it against their real distribution reserves and will grade your performance. I will be more than happy if we will manage to start this service commercially next year. Well, anyway, our major focus is WRM and MDP. Let's go the session formats. We have two distinctly different session formats. One is called practicum, and the other one is called tournament. The practicum, basically, the practicum is you are given the access to the PetroCup portal for the whole day, 24 hours. You can do whatever you want. You can do the shots, the productions. We call them shots. Yeah, it's the annual package of the drilling, walkovers, and surveillance. You can do it whatever time you want because you have a button which is called proceed. You can press that button and proceed to the next synthetic year and see the results of your previous year's doing. And every time you proceed into the next year, if you are not happy with the results, then you can roll back to the previous year and repeat it again. And you can do it as many times as you want. Plus, every time you proceed into the next year, the whole debriefing data is coming along, so you can see the performance using those metrics, comparison with the real, no, let me put it a different way. The actual performance of your activities. Probably at that point, it will not be clear what I mean, but let me proceed into the tournament and then to the debriefing, and it will come clear what I mean, that in practicum, the debriefing is coming every year. If I go to the tournament, then I have a very different environment. First of all, you don't have a button proceed. The proceeding will be initiated by the timer. So you have a timer so that at 10 o'clock, there will be the end of the synthetic year 1. So at 12 o'clock, there will be the end of the synthetic year 2. At 2 o'clock, there will be the end of the synthetic year 3. So basically, within one working day, you're going to go through the whole tournament, and you cannot roll back. So it's a competition, and it's a time-constrained competition, right? Plus, there will be no debriefing metrics sent along every time. So once you finish the tournament, then the debriefing metrics, the debriefing data sheet will come on screen, and through this debriefing, you will understand that your drillings were not efficient, that your walkovers were not efficient, pressure support were not or efficient. So you will see a lot of the useful things after the session is over. But in practical mode, you get the debriefing all the way along. So it's really like use and abuse the portal in your own way to develop your own skills. That's why we call it practical. And the tournament is really good for multidisciplinary team, for competition, for the testing, certification, evaluation, for the team building. That's how the tournament table looks like. You see the synthetic years, and you can see the teams. This is a real organization This is the name of the team or nickname, which they normally select for themselves. And there you can see how they were progressing over the synthetic years. Normally this one, it's a 5 short, so probably was 1 day session. And some was going up or some was going down. You can see it from there. The next one that's a typical tournament schedule. You see 9:30 start, 11:30. It's booking a day. You can check the progress on the website. Now let's talk about the shot. What does shot include? First of all, you can drill wells. Second, you can do walkovers. Then you can set up the production targets. We have simplified versions of the PetroCup. You can set production targets by rates. I would like to produce that amount of rate from that well, and I would like to inject that amount of rate in that well. And obviously, we have a 3D simulator back in the reservoir. And if the rate you are requesting from the well cannot be done because the bottom hole pressure goes below minimum, it will be automatically cut off. But it's a simplified version. In the full-fledged version of PetroCup, you cannot assign the rates just as it is. You have to manipulate the pump. You have to install the pump. You have to set the frequency by the pump or the power of the amp, or for the water injection. You have to set up the choke, or you have to set up the booster pumps. So you manipulate with the well through the technical means rather than just in flow rates. For the surveillance, you have different types of surveillance. You have well tests, you have the wireline formation testing, build-up surveillance, cross-well interference test, you have production logs, you have noise logs, temperature logs, you have all of this, and all of this will be generated automatically. And every facility you do here costs you money inside the PetroCup world. And you can build the surface infrastructure like the gathering system, the refinery, the booster pump for the water production, the chokes, the manifolds. You can build up a quite sophisticated system, and it's going to cost you money, and it will be a delay in building it, because whatever changes you want to do in the surface infrastructure, it's going to take you at least 1 year for the contracting and at least 1 year of building. And if you want to rebuild the refinery, it's going to cost you 3 years. So debriefing. When we built the software first time and we ran the first sessions, that was back in 2015, I guess, 5 years ago. My own team of NAFTA specialists, they get in one room and they ask me, okay, we see what we come up with. We see some cash profit we generated. And they asked me, Dr. Attar, is it good or bad? How can we see? Well, obviously, and at that time I told them, I'm a professional field development engineer. I spent my life in developing field development plans for the professional petroleum companies. Of course, I'm going to help you to understand that. It's my job. And you know what? It took me 1 week to go through every step they did during that day and to understand if this activity was good or not. And not alone, because in order to answer those questions, I was asking the same team to do some exercises in 3D modeling and some economic calculations in order to come to my own understanding. Was this action good or bad? So after I went through this exercise for 1 week, I realized that explaining the team their performance is the project on its own. There need to be another software who can do this. And then I started that project, which we called a debriefer. It's a piece of software which automatically analyzes each and every action of that team. And we developed a methodology. What are the metrics in economics? What are the metrics in the production facility? And what are the metrics of the efficiency of the injection facility? And we created a new software, which we call a debriefer, which doing this automatically. It's basically watching every team go on a continuous basis and constantly running the calculations in the background. In case of the practicum mode, it sends the results immediately after each shot. So a guy who is going through the practicum, he can understand his performance immediately and then roll back to the previous year and improve himself. But in the tournament, the debriefing is only doing it secretly, is not showing anything to the teams. But once the tournament is over, the debriefing is sending the data to every team so everybody can understand what went wrong or right for the whole tournament. And explaining debriefing, it's a lot. You can see it's maps, it's cross sections, it's tables. It's quite a big thing. And definitely, if you are interested in PetroCup facility, we will give you a lot of there are a lot of videos which explaining the debriefing, showing the case studies of the debriefings, so you can see them a lot. But also we can definitely meet together in live and discuss it more. Obviously, as I told before, this is a testing facility, and we create the certificates. We automatically issue the robot automatically issues the certificates. Now, the tools, the software. If you are interested now or later, you can watch, first of all, videos on how the software works. I mean, the shortest video showing the interface probably is 5 minutes. It's available on the website. Plus, we can do the live shots straight away, even after this presentation. It's all on the web. It's on the website. The asset resources. We have different types of the assets: saturated, undersaturated gas. We have bottom water and edge water, high and low permeability, high, low viscosity, onshore, offshore. Offshore is quite difficult, by the way, in economics. We're still struggling because economics of offshore is very different. We have a team from different countries, NAFTA teams. The mathematics and the engine are coming all from Russia, but the NAFTA team, which creates the synthetic assets and moderate the sessions and help the others. We have people from North America, from Europe, from North Sea, from India, from Southeast Asia, from North Africa, from here in Dubai, in Oman. And we are trying to bring people now from Central and South Africa and Australia. I think this year and next year, we probably will be covering the whole. Now, let me show you the typical package for the university. So how can university probably use the PetroCup facility? Apart from running the practicums or running the championship within the university or between the universities, it depends on the size of the university. Some petroleum faculties, they are having, I don't know, probably 10 graduates every year. So they have only one team. But some universities, let's say in Russia, they graduate 50 petroleum engineers every year, or 100 engineers. And that means 10 different teams. They run competition inside university itself, right? But apart from that, let's see how can this become a part of the curriculum. As I believe that PetroCup is the final stage of education of petroleum engineers, whether you're geologist, petrophysicist, a well test engineer. At the end, you all have to go to the petroleum company and work as an asset team. So the final stage of any petroleum curriculum should be the interactive exercise with PetroCup. We do provide some video, and this video showing the people who actually went through the PetroCup once. And you can see from this video how the people were interacting to each other. That's a very informative video. But once you watch that video, you can start the interactive session. It normally consists of the 8 days, stretched over the 2 weeks. So the day number 1 is the guided tournament. So there is a lecturer, let's say from your organization, who's gonna be, he's gonna let people, students, go through the session themselves, but he will be interfering in what they're doing. The students, they're supposed to watch the videos from before. They already know the software. They know the buttons. They know the software is very simplistic, as I told you. It's not like the complicated software. It's a very simplistic software. You drill, you walk over, you call for the surveillance, you set the production targets. But understanding of how you should work together is quite complex, especially if you are young, if you are students. In this case, you have to watch the video, and after this video, you are ready to communicate with the physical person with the lecture. And then lecturer, he gives people opportunity, a team, to go through this exercise, but he's interfering. He's interfering in how do they go through the field review. He's interfering in how do they put up the strategy for the next 5 years. He's interfering on how to select the actions for the year number 1, for year number 2. He will be actually interfering into, but letting the students go themselves. And on day number 3, he will do the debriefing, following our procedures or advancing. So I recommend everyone to start with our own developments. But if you want to advance it with your own metrics, go ahead. Then day number 4, day number 5, students go on their own practicum. This is a practicum session. So the professor can have a rest. During this time, they will use and abuse PetroCup portal at their own discretion. The same team, all right? So they will be learning from the previous 3 days, and they will trying to do the best to understand how it's supposed to be. Probably rewatch the videos again. And then after the weekend, we start with the day 6. You go for the tournament, a trial tournament. We call it a mock-up. We assume that the lecturer is not interfering into what the team is doing during one day. But once it's over, he's making the briefing for them. He debriefs them and explains again what went right, and that will be a different asset. That asset will not be the same as in the previous day number 8 is actually a testing phase. It's an exam. The team goes through this examination, and they got a graduation, a certificate. That's how we see the interactive and watching the videos and simulations can be incorporated in the curriculum. And it may become a part of the graduation, of the overall graduation system of your organization. Today, we see that the universities in Russia, they start using these facilities, and there is a call from the petroleum companies to value those who get a very good attainment in these results when they identify and interview the candidates, the young specialists. We've done with this, and now we're coming to the end of this presentation. This is a very important slide. Look, this is the grading system which we developed over the last 5 years, based on the net present value, economic efficiency of the 5 years tournament. And if you run the field development with the maximum performance possible, which is developed by NAFTA College themselves with the open maps, we call it 100%. But it's almost unachievable in blind mode. So even in practical session, with the opportunity to roll back and the debriefing, it's almost impossible to reach 100%, which is the ideal field development plan. The description of that plan is available. We call it AAA, activity by activity analysis of the reference scenario. But still, even repeating that within 1 day is very difficult. And obviously, if you are blind, if you are dealing with that field first time in your life, it's simply impossible. But if you don't do anything, and if you just keep the money which you are given in the beginning in the bank and don't do any activity, then the production of the oil continues. And that will give you 5 times less profit than the reference plan. So as you can see, the dynamic range between doing nothing and doing maximal available is to 80%, between 20 and 100. Plus, there is a scenario which we call boost. The boost scenario is the most barbarian way to develop the field. You don't need the team of 10 people. You need one guy who's going to do a very simplistic, who's going to pursue a very simplistic strategy. He's going to drill only producers, never injectors, only in the crestal area. Once the budget is over, the rest of the money he spends on the walkovers, only high water cut wells, and he keeps the production, the bottom hole pressure at minimum, and for producers, and the bottom hole pressure for injectors at maximum. So if you do the booster, then you get 25%, only 5% increase. Honestly, there are some reservoirs in which I met in my life, even here in the Middle East, where the booster can do a much better job than NFI. But definitely in Nafta Cottage, we develop the fields in such a way that, first of all, the reference is 5 times better than NFA. So you better be a good team to perform. And the booster gives you only 5% advantage. So that's why whatever less than 25%, we call it a failure, because you don't need a 10 people team to reach 25%, right? And whoever performs more than 75%, we call it A star, outstanding. We, in the last 5 years, we have just few occasions when the team, fully blind, has managed to achieve 75% and even 80% performance. This is really extraordinary. This is very rare, see? And this is the percentage of people in the whole market. The excellent results are very rare as well. We call them grade A, 65 to 75%. Again, very rare. Even good results, 55 to 60. The majority of the petroleum companies, professional petroleum companies, with the top teams of the petroleum companies, they normally perform in this area. That's their slot, 55 to 65%. And out of the 10 teams, let's say 1 team will hardly reach that point. The lion's share of the whole petroleum industry is within this one, between 25% and 55%. It's a big chunk of teams working in 45, 55% area. We call it fair. It's not bad, it's fair. But the majority of the world is doing really poor, 35 to 45%, or very poor. If we talk about the students, even those who already played PetroCup once, but if they go blind for the new field, and not simplified version, but the fully fledged version, they're gonna, the majority of them are gonna fail. And if we talk about the professors who train in universities, they normally end up right around here. The median average is 40% of the world. And we are tracking this across the world on an annual basis. Because as I told you, we don't know the names of the organizations who buy the vouchers and play PetroCup. We don't know them. It's all anonymous. But the results of all exercises are concentrated in the central database of PetroCup portal. And the robot automatically generates the histogram, and we know the average performance and how is it evolving. Now let me show you a trick. Let's consider a petroleum company. The top teams of the petroleum company normally perform at 60%. If this is really high-class petroleum company. Even high-class petroleum companies, there will be teams performing at around 30%. And that will be quite a lot. See, they will be forming here around 30% and some around 60% right here. The average performance, not median average, but the median average is even below, but the arithmetic average is around 40%. What if we manage to train all the teams in this organization to perform as their own best teams? In this case, all will be 60%, and the arithmetic average, economical average efficiency will be 60%, which means that net profit value of this organization is going to increase from 40% to 60% in cash, which is 50% increase in net present value with the same capex, with the same opex, same fields. Is just the improving of the holistic training of that organization. Let the other teams perform at the same level as the best. And in my experience, I've been asking the top managers of the petroleum companies, biggest petroleum companies in the world, and the ministry representatives in different countries. And I was asking them, what do you think is the difference in economical performance between the best team and the worst team? And you know what the answer was? The majority of them were telling me that we are the high-grade petroleum company. We have high-class training courses. We select the best of the best. We're almost the same in everything. The performance, economical performance between will be 5% max. And I used to say, let's try. Well, why not? Let's Robert decide. Let's put your people in the same environment and see how they perform. And we end up with this. And when the top managers of the petroleum companies saw that, that changed that completely. They suddenly realized they really want to level this up, because today the petroleum companies are fighting for the NPV increase by 5%, by 10% from the additional capex. They want to increase NPV by the additional funding from outside. And now I'm coming to them and telling them that you can increase NPV by 50% without any borrowing, just by reducing the number of mistakes and the field development planning on your daily basis, just by improving your the competence and capability of your people. That comes as a shock. Now I was talking about the 60%. Let me show you something else. This is a Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is available on the website on different assets, synthetic assets. This one is specifically Alpha 4. The Alpha 4 was launched in 2018, I believe. What's the, as you can see, the best teams perform 84% and 78%, even higher than 60%. This is Tatneft, one of the big Russian companies. And by the way, this is a very interesting story. The Almaty State-Oil Institute. This is a specialized petroleum institute. They were performing at 53%, and they get in the Hall of Fame. But the first time they tried, they were really poor. And they came back to me and they told us that now we realize that we train students, but we really need in our master's program and the team which we collected from masters didn't perform really well. They went below 25%. How to reach the same numbers as the petroleum companies? And I told you, go through the training, put masters under the training program, PetroCup training program. And they told that it's expensive. And I said, well, it's a business. They found the sponsorship from actually this company. And now you see the majority of their graduates go to this company. And this is the best performance of the Tatneft, not the worst one. And they reached 53% in just 2 years. So in 2019, they came to me and they actually thanked me a lot for upgrading their own performance and their curriculum. And that's how it all started. And then it went to the Kazan State University and started spreading. We have 2 academic universities in the Hall of Fame, from Almaty city and from Kazan, both Russian. All the other companies are petroleum and petroleum servicing companies, including Petroleum Development of Oman. Now, is 60% is really max? No. If you can see from Hall of Fame, you can actually perform at 75% and even higher. So what if we upgrade the performance of the World Petroleum Society to 75% from current 40? That will be increased from 40 to to 75. It's almost doubling of the economic performance of the companies. That will sound crazy. For any chief finance officer of a petroleum company, he's going to tell you, I don't believe that we are actually losing that amount of profit just because our competence, capabilities across the team is not leveled. You see? And I believe the universities across the world, if they will adopt immersive learning, the PetroCup type simulations, not necessarily PetroCup, many others will come in years. But today, I don't know who is offering the same facility, which is fully automated, which is fully mirroring. It's a digital mirror of the digital oil field, and the digital oil field is built just like real. And here is the geography of PetroCup sessions, championships, training across the world. And it's a little bit outdated. We have more pins coming up today. But anyway, we are talking about more than 1,000 participants by today. You can find 2 SPE papers. One SPE paper is showing how things are arranged. I mean, what's the room, big room, small room, many readings on the logistics of the PetroCup based, I think we published it together with Petronas, and how it was run in Southeast Asia. And there's another interesting paper, which is called World Summary of PetroCup Performance. It's not about the PetroCup as per se, it's about those things. How the world is performing in many metrics, in water supply, in surveillance, what are the weak spots which are typical for the whole world. I don't split by countries, by regions, because I don't want to raise this who is better or worse, but the gross world summary is very useful. And some weak spots of the modern petroleum engineering are zoomed through the synthetic PetroCup sessions, and they summarized in this SPE paper. Well, thank you very much. I think I'm done and I'm ready for the questions.